It's giving me skating rink. It's giving me pool party. Like, this album to me felt like going to church. It felt like very warm and familiar. It felt like my childhood, you know, again, like it felt like the music my mother listened to when I was growing up. 90s house music, funk, Minneapolis funk, a lot of Prince influence on here, George Clinton funk, the disco music that my grandmother liked. But the music doesn't sound dated. It sounds very contemporary, very modernized. Excellent production. Some of the best production I've heard in years, just an incredibly produced album. And I love the homage paid to ballroom culture and to the roots of house music as an LGBT genre, which Beyonce has always done, paid homage. You know, if you go back to stuff like Freakum Dress and stuff like that, she's always been very open about the LGBT influences on her work. And to me, this feels almost like a return to form, which sounds not exactly how I mean it, because it kind of sounds like I'm saying Beyonce fell off when obviously she didn't like fall off or anything. But to me, this feels like a return to like Beyonce's musical roots in a way. A lot of these songs reminded me of Destiny's Child, reminded me of Beyonce early in her solo career on her first 2 albums, when she was just having what felt like a lot of fun with these very R&B, disco, house, and funk influenced tracks. She had a lot of that type of stuff on her early material, and it's nice to hear it again. You know, I know this album was made during lockdown or whatever, like COVID times, and it was meant to be a feel-good album for trying times. And that comes across because everything can't be pain and suffering all the time. It's important to also feel good. It's important to also feel joy, to dance, have a good time. You guys know I have a video called Black Joy is Revolutionary, and it's important to experience Black joy as a radical act of liberation. And this album just made me feel really good. I would say that for me, this album is now in her top 3. You know, for me, Dangerously in Love, B-Day, and Renaissance. I don't know if that's the exact order, but that's the top 3. That's the top 3 right there. Like, sorry, not sorry, but that's the top 3 for me. This shit jumped. This shit leapfrogged over Lemonade. It leapfrogged over Homecoming. I didn't really like her self-titled album, but I know people love that album, and it's like considered a groundbreaking album for the sounds as well as the visuals. It leapfrogged over that. Like, top 3, period. So some of the standout tracks to me, there's a lot of standout tracks because I feel like I just love this album so much. Let's just go ahead and get right into Alien Superstar, the motherfucking one, the best song on this album, probably one of the best songs I've heard in the last 10 years. This song literally makes me feel like I feel the song, like I feel the music, like I feel like I'm fucking levitating when I'm listening to this song. It is my favorite song on here. It is the spirit of Prince, period. I need a remix with Miguel and The Dream ASAP. You know, I loved the skit, the interlude at the end. We walk a certain way, we talk a certain way, we dress a certain way, we make love a certain way. Unique, bitch. The song does things to me. A lot of the skits and the interpolations and the transitions, let me just say this, on Renaissance reminded me of When I Get Home by Solange. Very When I Get Home by Solange. And it's really interesting to me, which a lot of you guys have heard me say before, I feel like Beyonce and Solange for the last few years now have kind of been making work in tandem. And it's funny how reminiscent of Prince this all is, the spirit of Prince this all has, because you had Prince in the time that very much worked in tandem in the same way, where Prince was kind of considered to be like the big mainstream artist, right? Making huge mainstream songs and more mainstream work. While the time, even though the time made, they worked together, they did music together, they were in tandem, they were a collective, that's the word I want. But the time was able to do some of the more avant-garde stuff, some of the more experimental stuff, some of the more out there stuff that Prince couldn't necessarily do with his career. And I feel similarly about Beyonce and Solange. They've been working in some really interesting similar spaces for a while, but Beyonce being Beyonce, does a lot more like large scale, more mainstream projects, while Solange, being Solange, is able to do more avant-garde, more experimental projects. And this renaissance reminds me so much of When I Get Home, which you guys know I adored When I Get Home. So I was just like, man, the spirit of Solange is felt. Solange's presence is felt. Her presence is felt all over this album. Her presence is felt all over Alien Superstar. I could just imagine Beyonce playing these tracks in this album for Solange, and Solange just we walk a certain way, we talk a certain way. Like, I could just see Solange like going, like, very funky at the end, very Parliament, very George Clinton. Like, I love, like, Alien Superstar is that's a standout track from Beyonce's career. And this is a career that has had, at this point now, several standout tracks. Single Ladies, which was like damn near the song of the motherfucking millennium, the way that people played that shit out. Like, Crazy in Love, like, Formation, which was like a huge song. Like, now we have this one, Alien Superstar. Like, you know what? Let's just keep on. I'm gonna get to the end, and I'm gonna say what I gotta say about Beyonce.